Everyone checking in on the market. So pretty much an ideal day for the bulls today with the gap up open and green Maribozu showing the bulls were in control of the entirety of the day. And it looked a lot like programmed buying by bots and algos. And when you look on the 5-minute time frame, the 4 and the 8 period exponential moving average are moving averages that we use for the strongest uptrends as support and the strongest downtrends as resistance. It's not entirely uncommon to see the first half hour of the morning on a strong start hold those exponential moving averages. But to see them hold for 2 hours to start the morning, that definitely is very unusual, and it tells you it's a bit of unnatural trading is what I would call it, in the sense that we don't get that usual pullback. So either significant bullish news or bots and algo buying, because the significant bullish news could obviously explain the lack of any consolidation, but that wasn't entirely the case this morning. We did have some data, but not enough for this strong a move in my opinion. We've seen it in the past with other stocks as well. And why I call it bot and algo buying is because we've seen it on names like CMG. And we noticed, for a week, hey man, we're getting these real strong starts. We're holding these exponential moving averages for so long. There's no consolidation. This does not look like natural trading. And then a week or two later, it comes out that, huge institution was loading up a big position or something along those lines. So that tells us back in hindsight, we could say, oh yeah, well, we saw that buying going on. And in my opinion, that's what was happening in SPY today. Even just the end of the day here, this level of 278, we grinded against this support for about an hour and a half, and bears just could not push through it. No matter what they did, every time they broke 278, the bids pushed the price up, and we got right back to that 278 level. So now after hours, we're seeing a lot of strength and the setup for another potential gap up open. And after we had a gap down open and then a second gap down open in a row, we have a gap up open, and the bulls are trying for a second gap up open in a row. I still anticipate that the most likely scenario is that we're going to form a 4-hour lower high compared to 281.87. So that's our high. We have the low of 272.42, and we're looking for a 4-hour lower high compared to 281.87. If we reject from there, then we'll look for a pullback and a higher low to form, and that's how we will determine what is the most likely scenario in terms of going forward. But I already have a shift in my most likely scenario after today's action. The weekly time frame, the daily time frame absolutely is still favoring the bulls in this market, and the algo buying by bots today, in my opinion, is definitely only strengthening that. So all bulls today, and we'll see if they can keep that up, keeping in mind that we have not seen any consolidation on the hourly time frame during regular trading since 272.49. So we literally just ran $7 without seeing hourly consolidation, aside from during after hours Friday and then pre-market on Monday. So checking in with IWM, it's still weaker. We still have further to go to get back to resistance, and we're looking at 158.78, and our support level is down at 150.61. So we're looking at the 4-hour time frame to form an equilibrium here, and it's even more likely to do so because we still have a ways to go before we even get to resistance. So that lower high is likely in the 155 to 156 area, and then we'll look to pull back and form a 4-hour higher low as the bulls are going to look to follow through and try and change this trend back in their favor. So again, just want to clarify, the 4-hour time frame has seen a huge bounce, but we haven't confirmed the trend change with the 4-hour higher low and higher high just because we haven't consolidated. QQQ, there's your V-shaped recovery. So we know QQQ has been the strongest on the way up. We did pull back towards the end of last week, but this is very aggressive dip buying. We had upgrades this morning on Apple and Facebook that started those names up, 1.5%, 2% just to start right away. And Apple went up 3.5% today. Huge move. And the bulls are strong. So the 4-hour time frame here, we're more likely to just see continuation because we're right there, 175.79. So just looking at the three names that we just looked at, the odds of a bull break here before we even consolidate on QQQ is the most likely. On SPY, it's middle of the road. I still think it's less likely, and I still think we will need to consolidate on the 4-hour. And for IWM, it's even less likely. So if we have the Goldilocks and the three bears, or three bulls and bears, make up your own fairy tale, but it would be IWM the weakest, SPY in the middle, and QQQ clearly the strongest. Financial sector trying to bounce. It's looking a little bit like IWM in terms of on the weaker spectrum. We look at the 4-hour time frame here, and we're not close to breaking that top of 26.94. And we did consolidate a little bit during trading today, and that did not happen in a lot of other sectors. Here it is on the hourly, a little hourly bull flag trying for continuation. So a little bit more consolidation, bulls taking their time, and that new key support is 26.18, but I would anticipate, like IWM, XLF is likely to see a tightening daily range rather than just a V-shaped recovery to higher highs. Biotech sector filled the gap on the daily time frame back on Thursday and Friday, and we just shifted momentum. And it was a nice little clear shift on the hourly where we had a 84.97 low, a double bottom of 85.02, and then on Friday we changed the hourly trend. Or actually, I take that back. We didn't officially change the hourly trend until first thing this morning. But again, just all follow through for the bulls to start today, and we're still going to look for that 4-hour lower high compared to 92.05 and 92.99. So we're right in the middle of the range from the dump, and we will look for that lower high to be set sometime in the next day or two. VIX is just dumping, close at the low of the day the last 2 days in a row, and of course, if you have bots seeing sustained buying, you're not going to have a whole lot of volatility. So we're looking back down at 1340, the double bottom, and the bulls have to form a daily higher low and then see continuation in order to confirm any kind of trend change. Breaking the lower highs is great, but you have to see that follow through, and we obviously did not. So it's all about 1340 in the next couple of days. Oil, this is a potential clue in terms of the strength in the market that we've been seeing. Look at the volume today on U.S. oil. But the bear break on Friday with no follow through. We broke two key support levels. The bulls instantly bought that dip very significantly, and now we're breaking resistance levels, keeping these bulls in control, pretty much saving the day. A safety net on Friday, saving the day for the bulls, and now the market is seeing significant recovery as well. Look at the 4-hour time frame for oil. Does that remind you of anything? And it should, because it looks a lot like SPY and QQQ. In fact, if we're just going to compare them and overlay, let's put the 4-hour chart for SPY in there. And let's make it comparable in terms of candlesticks. And because we don't have the extended hours trading here, it's a little bit choppy, but very similar action in terms of the dump, when the low was hit, and then the V-shaped recovery bounce. So we'll be watching oil for potential little clues as well. Natural gas, significant pullback today. We had the double top, and now we lost the daily uptrend by breaking 2806. So this tells us when we lose the daily uptrend, zoom out to the weekly, because the weekly lower high is now clearly established at 2889. So a new lower high. We're now pulling back, and we must hold the low of 2571. And if we hold 2571 and then break 2889, we change the weekly trend for the bulls. If we don't hold 2571 and we drop to lower lows, we just continue this lower high, lower low downtrend, which has been in play for the last 4 months or so. So keeping a close eye on these supports as they approach and watching for the potential of a trend change, but the bulls have a lot of work to do. And right now the bears are in full control with the close near the low of the day. So bottom line is congrats to the bulls. Huge day today. 4-hour time frames for some clarity in my opinion. Watching oil and the SPY correlation on their 4-hour time frames. Watching QQQ because if QQQ breaks 175.79 tomorrow, which is likely, well actually let's see, we're going to be right there. If we break that level, that's only going to increase the odds that SPY and these other sectors are eventually going to break their resistances as well. If we reject and we start to consolidate, we'll have 4-hour equilibriums across the board. So that's what we're keeping an eye on, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day. No time for story time today, so we're going to end it with some goats and a nerd bird, and I'll get back to story time tomorrow. Hope you have a good rest of your night.